All right, let's talk about something incredibly thrilling. I am, of course, talking about public sector accounting standards, specifically IPSAS 38. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, John, that sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. But stick with me here, because this stuff actually matters. It's about how governments, the people spending your hard-earned tax money, tell you what they're doing with it. Or more importantly, what they might be trying to hide. So, what is this magical IPSAS 38? The name itself is a mouthful: International Public Sector Accounting Standard 38. Its full title is Disclosure of Interests in Other Entities. It tells governments and other public sector bodies how they need to report their relationships with other organizations. Think of it like a very detailed, very necessary Facebook relationship status update, but for governments and their various side hustles, investments, and complicated partnerships. The purpose is to make sure everyone knows who owns what, who controls whom, and what risks are lurking. This standard isn't just some arbitrary piece of paper dreamed up by accountants with too much time on their hands. No, it's part of a global effort to make government finances clearer. Now, why should you, a normal person with a life and probably a strong desire to avoid spreadsheets, care about public sector financial reporting? Well, it's simple. It's your money. Every time you pay taxes, that money goes into the government's pot. And what happens to it then? Well, that's where financial reporting comes in, or sometimes where it spectacularly fails to come in, leaving us all wondering where our cash went. Good financial reporting in the public sector is absolutely crucial. It's the bedrock of accountability. It allows us, the public, to see how our money is being spent. Are they building schools and hospitals? Or are they investing in, say, a solid gold statue of a local mayor's prize-winning poodle? Without clear reports, we just don't know. And when we don't know, that's when the bad stuff tends to happen. It's much easier to misuse funds, or make terrible financial decisions when no one is watching. Think about the sheer scale of public money. Governments manage vast sums. So we've established that IPSAS 38 is important. But what does it actually ask governments to do? Let's peek under the hood, shall we? The core of IPSAS 38, Disclosure of Interests in Other Entities, is all about making sure a public sector entity, let's call it Government Agency X, tells the world about its relationships with other organizations. These aren't just casual acquaintances. These are relationships where Agency X might have some control, joint control, or significant influence. The standard demands a lot of detail. It's not enough for Agency X to just say, oh yeah, we're involved with Company Y. IPSAS 38 wants to know the nature of that involvement. Is it a subsidiary, meaning Agency X controls it? Is it a joint venture where Agency X shares control with someone else to build that shiny new monorail? Or is it an associate, where Agency X has significant influence but not full control, like a loud backseat driver? Section 4. Accounting Smackdown, IPSAS 38 versus the other guys. Spoiler, it's complicated. Now, is IPSAS 38 the only accounting standard out there telling organizations how to report their various entanglements? Of course not. The accounting world is full of standards, like a very niche, very rule-obsessed version of the United Nations. For the private sector, the big equivalent is often IFRS 12, also titled Disclosure of Interests in Other Entities. So how does our public sector hero, IPSAS 38, stack up against its corporate cousin? Well, they're related, but they're not identical twins. Think of them as siblings with different career paths. Both IPSAS 38 and IFRS 12 aim for a similar goal: transparency about an entity's involvement with other entities and the risks that come with it. Section 5. Let the sunshine in. How IPSAS 38 boosts transparency. Okay, so we've waded through the technical bits. Now let's get to the good part. How does IPSAS 38 actually help make things more transparent? Transparency in government is like sunshine. It's a great disinfectant. It helps to keep things clean and visible, and it makes it harder for nasty things to grow in the dark. IPSAS 38 is a powerful ray of that sunshine, specifically designed to illuminate the often complex and tangled web of a government's relationships with other organizations. It forces these relationships out into the open. Before standards like IPSAS 38, or when existing rules were weak or poorly enforced, governments could have all sorts of off-balance sheet entities or hidden liabilities. They could be propping up failing state-owned enterprises or guaranteeing risky loans for pet projects, all without the public or even other parts of the government being fully aware of the potential financial fallout. This lack of transparency makes it incredibly difficult to assess the true financial health of a public entity. It's like trying to judge an iceberg by only looking at the tiny bits sticking out of the water, while ignoring the massive, potentially ship-sinking part hidden below. Section 6. Gotcha. Using IPSAS 38 to keep governments honest or try to. Transparency is great, but what does it lead to? Hopefully accountability. That's the other big A word that IPSAS 38 champions. Accountability means that governments can be held responsible for their decisions and their performance, especially when it comes to managing public funds. If transparency is about shining a light, accountability is about what happens once things are illuminated. Can we actually make them answer for what we see? IPSAS 38 provides the raw material, the detailed financial information that makes this process of holding them accountable much more feasible. Think about it. If a government makes a series of terrible investments through various joint ventures and these ventures are bleeding money, IPSAS 38 requires these messy details to be laid out in the financial statements. Once this information is public, citizens can ask tough questions. Opposition parties can scrutinize the decisions, the media can investigate, auditors have a clearer basis for their examinations. Section 7. The grand finale, why IPSAS 38 actually matters to you, yes you. So, after all this talk of disclosures, entities, and standards, you might still be wondering, okay John, I get it's important for accountants and auditors, but what's the real takeaway for me, the average citizen who just wants the bins collected on time? And that's a fair question. The grand impact of IPSAS 38 and good public financial management in general is that it directly affects the quality and sustainability of the public services you rely on every single day. It's not just about numbers on a page, it's about real-world consequences. When governments manage public money well, guided by clear standards like IPSAS 38, there's a better chance that resources will be available for the things that matter. Better schools for your kids. Well-maintained roads, so your commute isn't a daily battle against potholes. Accessible healthcare when you need it. Efficient public transport. All these things depend on sound financial management. IPSAS 38 helps ensure that decisions about these resources are made more transparently and with greater accountability, reducing the likelihood of waste, mismanagement, or funds mysteriously disappearing into a black hole of miscellaneous expenses.